Alright guys, welcome to Coach's Corner. So today we're going to be talking about Warcraft logs, the much anticipated, awaited highlight of Warcraft logs. So we're going to be doing this nice and slow for McJimbo's Raiders here. He asked me, talk nice and slow and use small words for my Raiders so they understand what I'm talking about. I will try my best. I just had, a lot of caffeine in me, so I will try my best to really slow it down just for you and friends McJimbo. So, we're going to be covering Warcraft logs in general. I won't be going to the super advanced stuff because you guys may not really need to know it right now. We can cover it at a later topic. But we're going to cover from, creating logs to analyzing them and reports and a lot of other stuff. So a lot of it will be self-improvement here. If you guys have questions as they come up pertaining to the topic, please ask. If you have things to chime in or things that I'm missing, also please ask. Please ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if it seems like a really stupid question or, bless you, really dumb question, don't be afraid to ask. I mean, we were all noobs, even with Warcraft logs. I am still learning with Warcraft logs, right? There's still so much more to do, right? Drias helps me with Warcraft logs because, she's intelligent. She's a smart girl. She's pretty, too. But we're doing Warcraft logs for today. So, to start off with Warcraft logs, and why does Warcraft logs? Well, whatever kind of logging thing that's been around. We used to have WoW web stats years ago. We had WoW meter online, for those of you that remember that. We had old school damage meters, which could tell you, very few things. We had, what else? There's a couple more. Well, we had World of Logs. There was one more that I'm missing. Warcraft stats, I think there was one. And then they just keep getting better. They, start evolving. New people start programming better ones. And now the big one is Warcraft logs. The World of Logs developers sort of stopped developing stuff, and now Warcraft logs came around. I remember when they were in alpha, they asked some guilds, like, hey, can you help us out here? Why don't you test Warcraft logs for us? Tell us what kind of features you'd want, and we sort of helped shape Warcraft logs to what it is right now. So, with Warcraft logs, yes, smooth. With Warcraft logs, it is a great tool for analyzing your performance, your Raiders' performance, see whether you're doing well, where you're doing poorly, and where to improve, because everybody has room for improvement. I don't care if, you're in my guild, or Blood Legion, or Method rank 2 world guild, or Paragon rank 1 world guild, or Cobra Kai Dojo, or Hello Kitty Island Adventure Guild, or you're playing that Guild Leader game that I played last night. There's always places to improve. You guys notice those shots fired? So there's always places to improve, and you want you want yourself to become better and better constantly. When we interviewed Shuttle again, he said, always look to improve yourself. And I mean, that's a life thing too, right? Don't settle for what you are now. There's so much more you can do. If 70-year-old grandmothers can raid at a high level, why can't you? She put in the work, she's old, her reaction times are slow, but why can't you guys raid? So with Warcraft logs to start, you want to start, making your own logs. So I'm going to load up this thing for you guys really quick here. So warcraftlogs.com. Okay, I'm going to go at a very basic level here. Please let me know if I need to slow down for anybody. Hopefully I don't have to. Okay. So with Warcraft logs, this is the website in itself. You want to create an account first. So create an account, do all that stuff when you log out there. Sign up for an account here, get your email, username, password, whatever your password is, 12345, the password on your luggage. I'm going to sign into my account now. There we go. Okay, so create an account basically to start off. That at the very basic level is what you should be doing. Now, to start logging, you need to turn on your combat logs. Your combat logs, and I'll tell you where they're found here. So your combat logs are found in your Warcraft folder right here. So in your, whatever folder you have, mine's in Drive G right here, under my backup, Warcraft, and then under the logs, there's a big file or a text file called wowcombatlog.txt. This is where all the stuff is stored. If I open this up right now, it's a big text file. It might crash. It might crash my OBS or whatever. So I'm not going to open that up right now. Sometimes it gets too large, or you just have to delete it. It gets 1.5 gigs in size. That's too big to open with your conventional Notepad or WordPad. Just delete it. You don't need it anymore, right? And once you upload it, then it's totally fine. It's up there for good. So with the WoW combat log, there's a couple things that help you combat log. Like if you just type /combat log into your screens right now, it'll say combat is being logged to, logs while combat log.txt. That's how you start logging. So any kind of combat that I do right now, there's my training dummies. And I mean, not really training dummies, logging it. But if I were to do a dungeon, if I were to do a raid or whatever, any kind of combat would be logged to that file. So if I go over to my training dummies now. Really quick here there. Training dummies, any kind of damage, any kind of healing that I do to these things. There. That'll be logged to my combat log file if it was, a dungeon or a raid setting. And it would stop, obviously, when you're out of combat. Or it splits itself between attempts. That doesn't really, but the programs themselves do. So what you want to do is if you go to your Warcraft log section, if you go under download the client right here. So you need two things for combat log, actual logging. You need to install the Adobe Air. Whatever Adobe Air is, I don't know. I'm sure it's like downloadmoreram.com. So I've got that installed, right? I've installed Adobe Air here. It takes you to this Adobe Air website. You can download it now, to open the actual Air files. Then you want to install the Warcraft uploader. There's the Air file right there. Once it pops up, it's a JavaScript-based thing. If I click this right here, yes, I'm already running it. Okay, that's fine. But that allows you to pop up the screen, and what's going to happen is, oh, you're so cold. Go away. This will show up. This thing pops up right here once you do click that Adobe Air file. So again, download the Adobe Air right here, install the Warcraft uploader, and once you have the actual uploader, this pops up, this screen right here, which allows you to upload the logs to your own personal logs. You can download to my guild logs here. You can create your own guild. So Baleful, for example, you guys have your own logs, right? Whoever wants log can make them. You can make them a personal log if you want. So I'll start logging Palalia has been logging our sub raids, but I will start logging more of our own raids here. Thanks, Lula. So you can make them public or private. Sometimes, and there are advantages of making private logs. So a lot of the top-end guilds that are striving for World First, they will not make any logs private. Unless you're a World First guild, nobody gives a shit about, like the top 5, top 10 guilds, the ones that are competing for, big rankings. Those are the only ones that really should have their logs private. Everybody else, if you're a server first guild, congrats, great, you're server first. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not a big deal one way or another. People can still make their own private logs and circumvent that stuff. Don't forget a secondary network for extra protection. What? Oh, never mind. So, Warcraft logs, use this. Now, once it uploads, and we're going to upload a file here for you guys in a second, but for combat logging, I skipped one thing here. If you guys are using DBM or VEM or whatever, so if I load up my DBM right now, under the extra features, so this is DBM, under options, under extra features, I can automatically record boss encounters using the DBM pull command. So when somebody pulls, it starts logging for me. Or if I get into if I start doing a raid boss, it'll automatically start logging, so I don't have to go /combat log every single time. Because when I hit combat log right now, it disables. So this way, I can leave the logs turned off, and it only enables itself for every single encounter. That saves you a lot of time, potentially. How do you rate? Ask me later. Minty, ask me later. Those kinds of questions. So now log questions for sure. So we're going to upload a log right now. One sec here. So let's call this the Sparty test log under the Jesters guild. Sure, I can make it a personal log if I want to make it a public as well. Now, there's two types of logging. Yes. There's two types of logging. One type of logging is just upload the entire file itself, at the end of the night, for example. The other kind of logging is a live logging session, which means that every single boss fight you would be logging, it would upload automatically. So either one totally works, Does the Bigwig have the same feature? I'm not 100% sure. I don't run Bigwigs. I should have checked beforehand. Swishy. Somebody with Bigwigs, can you guys chime in and let me know if it does work? Because I know VEM does, I know DBM does, but I'm not sure if Bigwigs does. Let me know. The client does that for you. No need to use DBM. Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic if the client does that for you. If you're using the live logging session, right? Now you can, I mean, there's some advantages to not live logging in terms of like CPU usage or whatever, but feel free to hit browse, and here's my log section. So I'm gonna hit my WoW combat log, hit open, and then just upload it. And then you let it upload, and it takes, depending on how large the log is, it starts uploading itself. So it's uploading NPCs, pets, all that stuff, and yeah. Bakers doesn't have that option. There you go. There you go, Popar. Thank you. So it's uploading the log right now. Thanks, Funky Seth. If I go to view report right now, it's going to open up an Internet Explorer, but it'll show you the log that it's actually uploading. And this is one of our older logs. Yeah, this is one of our older logs from December 1st, right? It's an old combat log because I don't log right now in my guild. So this shows you trash fights. It's currently, if I refresh this, it's going to show you, some of the bosses later on. Yeah, black views, whatever. But I mean, it is uploading itself right now. And there's Siegecrafter here. I tested a little bit earlier, and you link it right away to, and you can start analyzing your logs. So that's how you upload logs in a nutshell. Create new window. Oh. Just switch from having DBM do it to letting the client do it. Well, that's fine. Perfect. Perfect. So it'll upload the parses here, and you're good to go. I'm going to cancel it now because I don't need it uploading while I'm doing stuff. So that's how you upload the actual parses. Now, once you have the actual parses, waiting for the cops to go by. Once you have the actual parses, you can start looking at them. So to start off, we're going to look at a couple of parses here, and we're going to start comparing reports. So here I've got a couple. Let me try to find it here. Which parse do I want to use? Baleful Guild. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you have parses enabled for your guild and they're already uploaded. It shows you on a calendar setting. It shows you, hey, you know what, if I scroll over here, on the 9th of December, this guild Baleful, the ones that, supplied logs for me, they killed these bosses. It tells you right there, they had 20-person normal, 21-person normal butcher, which bosses they wiped on. They wiped on Butcher, Kargath Bladefist, Twin Ogrins. They killed Kargath Bladefist there. Tells you on Wednesday, what did they do? They worked on Butcher Heroic, and they killed him. Brackenspore Heroic, they killed a couple more Heroics. They dropped some people. So, this is log. So once you click it, that opens up for you and gives you, a default summary view. This was their 21-person Heroic Butcher wipe, as soon as it loads here. There. So these are their logs in a nutshell. Yeah, extend this a little bit more. So these are their logs. Let's say, this is their Butcher wipe, for example. We can go to kills here. You can go to all 3 different wipes. They wiped once on Heroic Butcher, it looks like. Let's go to a different boss. What are the bosses they have here? 3 wipes. Yeah, Tectus they killed. Twin Ogrins they wiped on. But yeah, you can go through all of these. So let's say we click on Butcher, where we want to go through the actual kill. So they wiped on Heroic Butcher. You see 21 people here. It shows you exactly how many people were in that boss fight. So 21. Go to 21 normal kill. And there you go. This shows, a summary view. What you can do, go to damage done. And this shows you a damage breakdown of how your DPS are doing in relation to each other. One thing I should mention before we get over there. Now, right here on the right side, so why does your guild suck? It's not because, they're all bad. I'm not saying any of them are bad. This average item level right here, this is important to note. So, in this specific raid on this boss, their average item level was 642, which is great for normals. Totally fine. Normals, again, are tuned to 630, so Heroic Dungeon Gear. Heroics are tuned to 650. So if I pull up that wipe again, if I go to that wipe, they have 645 item level on this one. They're still a little bit under-geared, technically, for this encounter. That being said, there's other factors, why they wiped on this boss. There's, quite a few other factors. So we're going to look at those in a second here. Yeah, only one attempt. Yeah, so this is Griffith. His guild, there's Mavasor, there's a bunch of these guys in here. I know you can't see my mouse. Sorry, I know. I should have fixed that beforehand. Yeah, you guys can see my mouse here, unfortunately. I'm not sure why it is. Pointer. I need a laser pointer? I need, some kind of program that allows me to just draw on my screen like it was a paint thing, and not a crayon. Okay, somebody recommend me a program that allows me to just draw. Draw John Madden, sort of, what John Madden draws. So, back to this. So it shows you their average item level right here where I highlighted 642. Again, normal's tuned to 630, heroic's tuned to 650, and then mythic tuned much, much higher than that. So the expectation is that you've cleared all of normals before you start getting into heroics, but some bosses are harder than others, and I know that. That being said, you can totally kill heroic bosses with 642 gear. You totally can. You don't have to be 650 to do it. Plenty of guilds have killed heroic bosses with 640 or lower gear. So let's move on to what they're doing right and wrong. Again, let's look at the damage breakdown here. So it sort of shows you, who's the highest DPSers, the lowest DPSers, just in a nutshell. But it also shows you their item level right here. Down the middle of the screen, I know my mouse isn't working, it shows you that, what is his name here? Wirejoy? I don't know what his name is. The Frost Mage. The Frost Mage is topping the meters. He's 651 right now. But there's things to look at. It's not just, nothing's always straight, straightforward really look into it. There's always context. There's a reason why he's topping and why somebody's not. It could be the strats, it could be he's not moving at all. It could be he's not doing the mechanics right. He's just standing there tunneling the boss, treating it as a training dummy, or a Patrick fight, which it sort of is. It's the closest Patrick fight that you can get to. Okay, so you have Shifty Luck here. You have a bunch of guys that are doing pretty damn well, and some that are doing a little bit less damage. What kind of damage is acceptable for heroics? I mean, it depends. It depends on the class. It depends on a bunch of stuff. You see the rogues are different specs right now. 2 of them are subtlety. 1 of them is assassination or whatever. So they're different specs, right? You have the enhancement shaman. Some classes really excel right now. Some are really overpowered, like Windwalkers. Some are a little bit on the weaker side. Again, single target damage. Some really excel AoE encounters, but it depends on what you're bringing. Now, what we're going to talk about next here is comparing reports. So how do I know what this guy is doing right or wrong? So I'm going to leave that to you guys, that aspect of it. I can't tell you, I can't babysit all of your classes and say, you know what, this Frost Mage is not casting this spell enough. Well, I have no freaking clue. Like, I don't play a Frost Mage. I don't babysit my mages. I expect them to know what the hell they're doing. If I click on him now, this shows me I can hover over it, but this shows me his breakdown. Right here, where he bursted at the start here, again, hopefully with potions and stuff. His breakdown with Frostbolt, with, his other Frostbolt here, Ice Lance, Frostfire's Icicle, how much damage his Water Elemental did. It gives you a full breakdown. So in terms of casts, in terms of, hits, misses, whatever, all that stuff. I guess you don't really miss much these days anyway, right? Yeah, because there's no hit cap, right? Yeah, blue went by.
White's hit, or white's miss. Not that it matters, but I'm just...
Yeah, your specials don't miss, which is really the important part. Again, breakdowns here. So Driaz, since you play a Shadow Priest, chime in here. What should be, the top breakdown? Let's say on a Patrick encounter. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Okay, moving on.
Depends what spec you are.
I don't know what spec he is. This one is... I have no clue. Mind Blast, a good percentage of his Mind Blast, Mind Spikes, and
yeah, that's right then.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we can look at dot uptimes as well. Their Shadowward Pain, how much...
That's not going to be useful.
That's not going to be useful. It tells you their uptimes in terms of, their debuffs and things like that. What are some of the bars? 2 colors? Oh, why are some of the bars 2 colors? To sort of differentiate. So here's an example. If I go to Healing Done, Elodie's good question. So if I go to Healing Done, this is a better reason why the bars are 2 different colors. The darker colors are Absorb Shields. So here is Zulan. They've got a pretty decent Holy Paladin from what I saw from the logs. This shows you his straight up healing, the actual solid pink. And the gray color here, and you can see it when I hover over it, is the absorbed section. Same thing with their Disc Priest. Disc Priests are stupid because they throw up so many damn shields. So the Disc Priests actually didn't do a lot of healing. They actually do a lot of damage prevention through shields. And again, if you look at the breakdown of that Disc Priest, Power Word Shield, 52% right here. Let me try to zoom in for you guys. There, for those of you that are blind and 70 years old. 52% of their heals are Power Word Shield. Casted 58 times. Right, tells you exactly when. Here, these are the casts of Power Word Shield. There. Turning off Power Word Shield. So if I want to know exactly when they cast a Power Word Shield, there's Atonement, Cascade, Divine Aegis. Pair of mending. So look, these are just the shields themselves when they went out, when they got absorbed, when they got eaten, right? And why are they getting eaten? Well, if you guys know on Butcher, he cleaves that one entire group. So a smart priest would be, pre-shielding them prior to the cleaves and keeping those shields up the entire time, because the majority of the damage is going to that cleave group, and of course the tanks as well. This card, I know this card. I'm just giving them a hard time, but no, it's a lot of damage prevention, which is great, which is really, really effective. Now, one thing we're going to do is we're going to compare these two druids. So there's a huge disparity as to what the hell these druids are doing. One of these druids is doing awesome. One of these druids is doing something completely different, and we need to look at why. And I told these guys, hey, your druid is doing something wrong here. When I looked at their healing breakdown, it's 2.5 million difference. So if I go to healing done again, again, one healer is 650, the other one's 639. Fine, fine. There's a 10 level item difference, 11 level difference. Fine, but there's a huge breakdown. Now we're going to compare these reports. Which one do I have loaded up for comparison? Perfect. So how do you compare reports? This is what we're going to look at next. So I've got this one guy. Let's say it's yourself, and you see this other parse, or you see the other paladin or whatever in your guild, and you want to exactly compare what they're doing. So here's what I'm going to do. There's a 16-digit code at the top here that I'm highlighting. I'm going to copy this. Yeah, this will be a VOD breakdown, and this will be a highlight. Don't worry. All this will be highlighted. It'll be a nice long highlight. So I'm going to highlight, this section here. I'm going to go to compare reports, and we're going to compare. So it loads it, this gives a little window here. Compare this current report that I'm looking at with this. There. Okay. Now it is the same guild, the same report, comparing them both together. It allows you, that's fine. It allows you to compare both. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to healing. So the first report is in blue. As you can see, our Baleful Guild, this is the blue section. And the other one here is the pink section. So, if we go to healing by all sources, let's go the first source. Okay, the source is what's actually doing the healing or the damage or whatever. I want to see friendlies, so I'm going to go to Druids. Under the blue report, I want to see what Cyclone Tard, what a fantastic name, is doing. And that'll show me Cyclone Tard. There. These are the casts that Cyclone Tard is doing. Now under the second one, I'm going to go under again, drop down menu here, Druid, go down to Foray. Let's see what he's doing. Again, they have to be different colors, otherwise it will not work correctly. There you go. So this shows you a breakdown of what the hell these guys are doing. Can you guys already see the massive difference in what they're doing? Sure, they could have different assignments, but in general, these guys should be doing something, very much the same. Right? So the first druid here, he's doing a lot of rejuves, and it shows you who he's healing exactly. He has a 75 cast of rejuve. The other one has 35 cast of rejuve. That's a huge difference. I can sort of hover over here what the spell actually does, and it heals. I mean, it's a hot, right? Hots are awesome. There are certain tactics to healing as a druid on Butcher. You don't need to top everybody off right away. You can let your slow heals do that. The hot doesn't actually do the damage over time doesn't do a shit ton of damage. It's actually the actual cleave that does a lot of damage. You need to make sure people don't die to it. Typically, there's a couple ways to look at this. Typically, the damage from the cleave is the highest. Your healing range, your fluorescence, whatever, that kind of shit can heal up your raiders just fine through the dot portion. Which means your slow heals can be totally fine when healing your raid, your melee through those cleaves. Healing touched up, it's gonna hurt. It's the thing. It's a lot of. This is probably why he's running out of mana, right? Healing 10% of base mana. This is 9% of base mana. So you want your nice slow heals. I can't remember which slow heals they are. Yeah, regrowth is really high up there. That's gonna burn through your mana. Look, 80% of base mana. That's crazy. Whereas mushroom here, wild growth, yeah. It's different breakdowns. I don't know what the proper breakdown should be based off their strat, but it is vastly different. Hits with multi-strike. Multi-strike, that's why. So Mantiers asked, what does the MS mean where it says hit MS? Multi-strike hits. So it tells you, you have 514 hits of rejuve, 131 more were multi-strike. if I'm reading that correctly. I think. Crits stuff. 94 crits. Hits and crits. There you go. Hits and how many crits there were. Yeah, MS is multi-strike. It gives you the uptime, sure, of their heals. But remember, as a certain healer, you need to be, one job is to either slowly heal them up, or do you blow your mana and top them up right away? Well, it depends on how many healers you have, right? Depends if you're running heroic. You don't want to burn through your entire, wad of mana right away. You want to wait until the actual berserk phase, where that's where you should be spending most of your mana. The remove druid slowly Ripner's being mana positive. Well, I mean, I'm not a druid expert, so those of you that are druid experts, you should know what your heals are. And I have a whole other little tangent and rant to talk about with healers. Yeah, I mean, I can sort of do a tangent right now. I have a whole big rant I want to do about druids and healing and that kind of stuff. But again, this is comparison of what they're doing differently. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's same thing with damage breakdown here. If I want to look at a damage breakdown between... I don't know. I can go back here for a second, hopefully. Oh, shit. Let's try to go back. Can I go back? Okay. Again, damage breakdown, whatever. What damage dealers do they have here that I can compare? They had 2 rogues, didn't they? Yeah, they have 2 subtlety rogues. So why don't we compare the 2 rogues right now? So damage done, we're going to compare... one rogue, which is... Sorry, which one? Not Steelix. Bobby Smith and Corblimey. So we're going to compare Bobby Smith here. And we're going to compare on the second one Corblimey, right? Oops, wrong one, sorry. And Bobby Smith, there. So again, 1 blue, 1 pink, so you can compare their attacks. This again shows you their breakdowns, how many times they're attacking, all that stuff. Roughly same breakdowns here, not too bad. Very close. So the melee is 26% here. Their eviscerates are pretty close at 19.2%, rupturing at 16. This one has a bit more ruptures, but again, you look at the ability and what exactly it does. He's using more combo points. He's generating combo points faster. I don't know, but if his damage is really low, you could see how many casts they actually have. He's got more attacks, right? This one has more, 1 more eviscerate, more ruptures, for example. That's why his percentage is a little bit higher. The ambush and backstab damage is a little bit different, but still pretty close. But they're still pretty close to each other, and again, you would look at gear as to, why some of the damage is a little bit different here. What other questions? 3% overall rejuve, that's low. Is it spec that aside from germination? I don't know what you're talking about here, Holy Angel. Okay, so moving on. I got a couple of whispers, okay. Moving on to the next section here. So that's comparing healers in a nutshell. You can see sort of what they're doing. Let me go back to healers one more time. Sorry, I should do this. Just be really quick. Let's go to healing again. Let's look at the druids. So Cyclone Tard for 1, and the other one will be Foray. Okay. Again, we can see who they're healing. So let's see who they're healing here. Okay, so this is a big issue right now. So I know, I know very well that these 2 guys, like their tanks in this guild, are named Ravna and Gonzo. This guy is doing a lot of tank healing, like a shit ton of tank healing, whereas this dude, he's not doing a lot of tank healing with his what is it called? With his healing touch, like he cast almost no healing touch, right? He's got he's got HOTS running on them, which is why part of the reason his healing is so high. Where's his rejuves? Yeah, they're doing 200,000. He's not keeping rejuves up on the tanks much at all. Whereas this dude, more of his healing is on the tanks as well as the rest of the raid. If I click on a rejuve, it gives me a breakdown of who these guys are rejuving. What exactly. So you can see here, the guy on the top, Cyclone Tard, is doing a much better job rejuving the actual cleave soakers. So again, it shows you how many ticks, how many casts on that person. The uptime, they got a decent uptime, I guess. I don't know what an applicable uptime should be on rejuve, but rejuve is clearly one of the big indicators of why Cyclone Tard did a lot more healing than Foray. So it's a good little breakdown. I don't think they run. They don't. Yeah, I don't think it takes any money. Manta Rogue. I'm pretty sure not. Maybe jumping the gun, but will you, by chance, give me an example of things to look at as a tank comparing himself to another source to find areas to improve on? We can. I mean, similar setting here in Gnarly Mutt, where you would compare two tanks. So let's say we have, okay, so this is within the same guild. Okay, I'm going to do another comparison here between different guilds. So you have, Guild A and Guild B. I'm going to compare these guys to my guild. So again, let's go back to just the damage done. I'm going to pull up Baleful again. And where's my comparison ready to go? Yeah, that's this one. I can close this one. That's analysis. Okay. So this will be somewhat applicable. I'm going to pull up their Butcher kill on Heroic. Okay, so this is the actual kill. So I was looking at their wipe and their normal kill. We're going to go to Butcher right now, to their actual Heroic kill. So they had 13 people. So in this kill, they got rid of 4A. I had no part in that. Or they swapped them out or whatever, and you got to do that sometimes. They have some high DPS, some low DPS, whatever. So they've got these guys right here. Their damage done, again, it was a 4-minute, 53-second fight, which is not bad. The top guy's doing 22,000. Maybe they got some more gear. Let's see what their gear level is on this kill. So it's 645.6. Okay, this is Wednesday, December 10th. I'm going to compare it to my guild here, and my guild, we killed Butcher in 410 with 30 people. We also had like a shit ton of healers, so we should have killed it a lot earlier. We're gearing people up right now. Those are our farm things. The average item level of my guild was 653, right here on the right side, 653. So how we're going to compare these in terms of straight damage done to see, where somebody's doing whatever. Hey, Levy, compare them to my guild. We got Butcher down with practically the same group. Yeah, sure, Kev, if you want to link it, for sure, go for it. So we're going to compare right now to my guild first. Let me pull it up. Here's, again, that 16-digit thing up top. There are the 16 letters, characters, whatever. We're going to compare reports, compare with URL, there. So let's compare reports. Sorry, Butcher is what I want to compare. There. So it shows you the blue one is Baleful, and the pink one, one sec here, is Death Jesters. Where's mine? There. It's all the way at the bottom here. Again, I've zoomed out for you guys because you guys are blind. There. So on the left side is Baleful, on the right side is Death Jesters. We had more people, we had more healers, so we technically did have less DPS or less potential DPS. We could. I mean, you guys can use these yourself. So here's what's going to happen. So let's go to damage done. Straight up damage done. It compares damage between both guilds. So again, at the top is their guys, their Frost Mage, whatever, compared to our guys. Our guys, again, are a little bit better geared. If I compare Frost Mages, Firemancer did... Here we go. So Firemancer is a 656 item level mage, and their mage is a 651 item level mage. So it's 5 item level difference. Again, that could be a better trinket, a better weapon. It's just item level overall. It could be, he's close to Firemancer, but he still has a blue weapon. Whereas Firemancer could have, an amazing heroic Warforged weapon, I don't know, and blue gear everywhere else. And that weapon would play more of a factor as to why he's doing damage. So this is a comparison again between for damage. Why don't we look at Frost Mage comparison? Sure. Let's again, the pink number here is my guild's DPS. I'm not here to boast of my guild's DPS. Like, we're not rank 1 in the world. It's comparison. And there. So what does this tell you? The first couple seconds of the encounter, we have much higher burst. What does it tell you as well? Well, during the hero phase, and both guilds heroed around the same phase, right? Around the 30% marker. We actually had higher burst because we probably saved our cooldowns and our secondary potions for that burn. That's what it tells you. One sec here. I can print it in a sec here. Just give me a sec. Give me a sec, guys. So, that gives you a breakdown of, better burst, maybe using better cooldowns, maybe pre-potting, but really timing your cooldowns for the encounter makes it a little bit better. Plus, if the encounter is shorter, you actually have a little bit higher DPS. I can compare it here. Why don't I compare the same time period? How about that? It's not exactly super... Here, I'll go non-hero phases, just a straight-up comparison. So if you guys left-click and scroll like this pulls up the exact same time periods. Neither guild has heroed now. Now you have a different a measure of DPS. There. So, what? Yeah, so Astral Camp is doing 21,000 DPS, Schomburg's doing 27,000, but again, item level makes a huge difference. So this is a little bit better because, again, it shows you a non-hero phase within the same time period. So the exact same things are happening, the boss is not dead. This is pre-hero phases from 100% to, let's say, 33% before he does his little frenzy thing. So it's a much better comparison, you know, in general. Or you can compare just hero phases. Let's say, here's another great example. Phase 3, do you guys remember Phase 3 of Siege of Orgrimmar Garage, where you would burn your hero and just blow all your cooldowns? Sometimes your DPS is really low. That is a huge burn phase. If your burn phase was not strong enough, you need to look at logs and see who's not really doing their best kind of burn, right? Who's not podding, who's not saving their cooldowns for that kind of stuff. Yeah, give me a sec here, mates. I'll put up his logs as well. He had mistaken videos to bring a Schomburg. I'm just, again, you know, it's a different item level difference here. We geared the crap out of Ariana and Schomburg because they're some of our best plate DPSers. We funneled a lot of gear, right? Which is why our item level is a lot higher than theirs. I'm not saying these guys are bad. You know, we just funneled gear. We ran a lot more raids to prep our guys. Okay, why don't we look at comparison between damage right now? So we'll look at Firemancer. So again, we're going to pull it up. Damage done. Excuse me. In the first one, in Baleful, we're going to pull up this dude there. Okay, so we're comparing his damage to Firemancer's damage. To Firemancer right here. There. So similar-ish damage, not too bad. Our guy had a little bit higher burst. You know, he burst for 83,000 DPS, or 83,000 damage, whatever. And the other one was doing 30,000. So burst was a little bit close there. The other, they're sort of comparing close to around 50,000 there. In terms of straight-up casts, you see there's a bit of a damage difference, right? So he has that Frostbolt at the top here, Ice Lances. Again, I don't know why. I don't play a Frost Mage. I don't babysit my classes here. I don't know everything about Frost Mages, but I don't know why there's such a difference. Maybe Firemancers here or Mages are here to chime in as to why there's such a damage difference. But again, it shows you how many casts. Now, one of the things, you know, why you guys are doing so little DPS, not because you're bad. What do I always tell you guys? You know, why? What is the number one tip for a DPS to do more damage? What is it always? Mash your damn buttons, right? Just straight up mash your damn buttons. We can look at Frostbolt casts, for example. How many Frostbolts they had. In the same time period, Firemancer had 49, he had 48. It could be a haste issue, whatever. But that's pretty good, though. That is pretty damn good. Right? Always be casting. Exactly, Brixton. Always be casting. Don't be... Well, yeah, besides don't be dead. Yeah, stay alive. But I think you guys mash your damn buttons. When you're DPSing, if I'm trying to DPS here... Every GCD matters. Every little bit here. So if I'm trying to DPS... Let me go here. Let me do an example here for my ret set. Again, I'm a terrible ret. Let me just switch to red here, and then just give you an example of what I mean by mash your damn buttons. Secondary spec here. Yeah. There. Okay. So, let's go over just really quick here. So I'm not waiting, I'm not waiting for the next ability to come up. And of course I'm not clicking my buttons here. Which one is the next one? Crusader Strike, Final Verdict, somewhere here. I'm not clicking my abilities either. You'll see a much higher DPS gain from mashing the crap out of your abilities. Before it's even up, I know what I'm going to hit next. I'm going to hit my Verdict here, and then my Judgment, then Crusader Strike, and then Verdict. Mash your damn buttons. I mean, follow your cooldowns, you know, your rotation, but mash the crap out of your buttons. You want to have a lot of actions per minute, right? Casts per minute, APM and CPM. You want to have a high number of those. If you have a low number, we'll look at those numbers in a sec here, that could be, you know, why your damage is so damn low. And that thing alone will help you guys a lot. But please, I mean, yeah, clicking is really slow. Mash your damn buttons. Mash the crap out of them. If you are rubbing the paint off your, you know, your keys, good. That is a good indicator. Or, I mean, you need to wash your hands. But just mash the crap out of those buttons, please. Your buttons. Buttons. Stop making fun of how I pronounce it. Okay, moving on here. So again, that is a comparison of what they're doing. Obviously, there's only one target to attack here. But you can see, you know, what the damage breakdown is. If there were multiple targets, you could see, you know, this guy's doing this much damage to the Spore Shooters on Brackenspore. This guy's not doing any damage to the Spore Shooters. You know, why is their damage so different? If you have a dotting class, the Boomkins, for example, are a fantastic class on Brackenspore because they can dot the crap out of those Spore Shooters. Whereas if you have a Boomkin that's only doing straight damage to the boss, he might have a lower overall DPS. Whereas the other dude, he has a higher overall DPS because he's dotting everything as he should be. So that is a breakdown of how you do, or how you compare those things. We can look at cast as well here. If I click on the cast tab and get damage taken, sure, that kind of stuff. If you guys want to see damage taken, but again, this is not a great fight for it. Why don't we look at casts? So this tells you straight up how many casts they're using and which casts. So let's see, Draining Intellect Potion here. That's where you pre-pot. Frost Bombs when they were cast. So here's how you can sort of look at how their rotation is. Just been a little tongue-tied here. There. These are Frost Bolts by this dude, and these are Frost Bolts by Firemancer. Right? Similar kind of settings. I mean, in terms of rotation, I don't know what their Frost rotation is, or procs, or whatever. You can see their Ice Lances as well. Ice Flows, Frozen Orbs, all that stuff being used. If you see very little cast, you can see why they're casting or why not. Sometimes if you're incapacitated, you can't cast your spells, or if something's happening during the fight, that could be the reason why you're not casting certain spells, because you're running away or whatever. But again, this is in a 3-minute encounter, 3:05. What these guys are doing in comparison to each other. It's up to you guys really to look at those results and see why. Well, why is he doing this much frost bolting? I could look at paladins. In a sec here, and I'll pull up myself compared to their Holy Paladin. Give me a sec here. Do I have a log ready here? No, not this one. Not this one. That's rankings. Nope. Okay. So why don't I pull up Holy Paladins to sort of show you what they're doing different. How big of a role do you think item level plays in this tier? Huge, Dated. It's absolutely huge. Bigger than you realize. And depending on the class's cast sequence macro zone, yeah. Feral Druids don't want to mash. Yeah, I guess it depends on the class. But in general, Geoification. In general, you want to mash the crap out of your buttons. Healing as well. Mash the crap out of your buttons, guys. Okay. So why don't we compare healers now? So we'll go between myself and here. And the other guy. Okay, let's close these down. They didn't do any healing. So one source should be Zulon. And the other source should be myself. In terms of what we're doing. Again, same 3:05 kind of breakdown. So again, a bit of a difference here. Beacons. What's beacon? Well, what are we beaconing? Well, we both have beacons on the tanks right now, which is great. I have beacon on my tanks here, Psycho and Towley. He's got beacons on Ravna and Gonzo. If I'm doing more healing, then my beacon transference. So for every person that I heal, a portion of that goes to the beacon transfer. So which is why beacon healing might be a little bit more. If the tank's taking more damage, beacon healing would also be more, because there is an overheal component to it as well. So his overheal on beacons was 31%, mine was 46%, 47%. So that can make a huge, huge difference. Okay, let's look at different cast breakdowns. So he has a lot of Holy Lights here. I have, how many? I have 18 Holy Lights. He has 34. I mean, there are different ways of healing. I was trying to, really top the meters. I wasn't trying to heal as effectively as I should have. Here, Holy Lights again. What did I say? Well, the cleave is the most dangerous part of the encounter. You don't want to run out of mana. Holy Lights, that's the kind of spell you want to be typically using. Holy Shock on cooldown, and in this time period, I had 34 Holy Shocks. He had 40. Well, that's good and bad. So do the math there. So you can cast Holy Shock how often? Every, 5-6 seconds? Let's go back to Holy for a second here. I'm in combat, one sec. Get out of combat. Okay, let's run away. There. So, again, Holy Shock you want to be using as often as you can. Now, there's a bit of a perk there to Holy Shock and Draenor that some of you guys may or may not know about, which may skew some of the readings. So if I Holy Shock, every 5 seconds or so I can Holy Shock the next one. Sometimes my Holy Shock doesn't use its cooldown, which is why you may use more Holy Shocks. Now again, quick little breakdown of Paladin healing. You Holy Shock on cooldown, you get something called Infusion of Light, which means your next Holy Light or Holy Radiance is quicker, like this. It's actually quicker than your Flash of Light, which you should be using. So, and Holy Light costs a lot less mana than Flash of Light, so use Holy Light instead. Don't be spamming Flash of Light or Holy Radiance non-stop. Use them intelligently. So I get a Holy Shock. I use my spells. There. Holy Shock on cooldown I'm waiting for. Okay, I'm trying to get Infusion of Light proc there. But in any case, use more Holy Lights. It sort of shows who we're healing as well. He's healing who? He's doing a decent amount of tank healing there. Some healing on, let's take a look at a breakdown of Holy Lights. Who's healing who? Yeah, I mean, you got to factor in. I mean, that's the thing. There's other factors, like Holy Angel makes a good point here. With Sanctified Wrath, with this talent, I have more frequent access to Holy Shock. So if he's using that talent, I'm using, let's say, Holy Avenger, he'll have more Holy Shock. So that's one factor. Plus the Draenor perk, right? Where is it? Excuse me. Enhanced Holy Shock. Your Holy Light and Flash of Light have a chance to cause your next Holy Shock to not trigger a cooldown, which means you can put 2 Holy Shocks in a row, which is awesome, which is, just great. Again, this is a breakdown of who we Holy Lighted. He was Holy Lighted people here, and a bit of tank. I typically don't do a lot of tank healing. I focus really on the groups, because beacons can cover a lot of it. It's not, it's a huge deal. But again, there's lots of little things to consider when looking at healing rank or healing logs. I mean, there's mastery component, right? How strong your mastery is. Mine was 19% there. His was 15%. Why? Probably, a gear reason too. I probably have a little bit more gear and mastery than this guy. So if I pull my mastery buff, I have, 21% mastery? I'm pretty sure his is going to be a lot lower than that. Which means his illuminated healing, which is our mastery, will be a little bit lower, and then, less absorbs. Holy Prism should be used, pretty often. He's got, like 40 Holy Prisms, 40 hits. Yeah, it shows exactly who it hits. I mean, Holy Prism should be used intelligently to heal the right people. The other thing is here, he is using Sacred Shield. He's using a whole different spec. I'm using Eternal Flame. He's using Light of Dawn, which is more of an AoE heal, and I'm using Eternal Flame, which is, more of a single target heal over time spell. So you do have to factor those things in. We're completely different specs. But in terms of, damage breakdowns, we're both doing a pretty decent job. I'm sort of impressed and sort of surprised that this guy is running Sacred Shield. It's totally fine to run. Both specs are totally viable in, a normal and heroic setting. But part of it is just personal preference. If you're running Sacred Shield Paladins, you're not using Word of Glory, you're using Light of Dawn instead for your 3-point finisher. And if you're using Eternal Flame, you're not using Light of Dawn because you don't see one here, right? You see Eternal Flames just straight off the bat. Got a second breath. Okay, cool. So moving on. So that's comparing your healers. Again, looking at cast, you can look at buffs and debuffs as well. So why don't we look at... So he's not running Sacred Shield, I don't think. I'm going to double check here in a second. You can also see, when we're using our Avenging Wraths, for example. So why don't I pull those up? So this is a breakdown here. So if you're tracking DPS buffs or healing buffs or whatever, you can track them all here. So let's compare. Healing buffs, Avenging Wrath, that's his. Why don't we put these on the screen? So if you hit this little plus sign, it sort of teaches you what it does, if you guys want to click Teach here. But why don't we hit Avenging Wrath? Okay, that's going to be a big difference. There's Avenging Wrath, and where's mine? I used mine a little bit earlier, so I could use it later on. Never mind, it's Zulon. There's a bit of an issue here where it's not tracking the right abilities. And I had this a little bit earlier. Let's try this again. Click plus. Yeah, it's not tracked for some reason. I'm not sure why this is happening. It's not showing both types of buffs in this setting. So I wanted to compare, it was working the other day for me, comparing Sanctified Wrath or Avenging Wrath between both players. So when I'm casting mine, when he's casting his, it worked in the same similar setting, but not in the compare bot setting. Anyway, you see Infusion of Light procs there from Holy Lights, when certain things are procking, the important procs, whatever, the buffs, debuffs, whatever. I want to look at debuffs as well. So I'm pretty sure I was soaking in this group. We'll double check here. No, neither of us were soaking. Okay, well there you go. He used a Draining Commit Channel Mana Potion, which is great. I used a Mana Potion as well. I took a couple stacks of Cleave. The Bounding Cleave. And he took 3 as well. So we did things very, very similarly. But I think you guys have a pretty solid Holy Paladin just from looking at things right now. Can you go into Sacred Shield versus Eternal Flame? Like, where do you think Sacred Shield's a lot better? Also, if it's mana draining. Can you ask me after, Holy Angel? just ask me after Warcraft logs, and I can sort of give you a breakdown and compare them, because I know somebody else asked a similar question. What were the tips you were talking about that you have for healers? Mash your buttons. For all classes, mash the crap out of your buttons. You know, you want to be spamming your spells, whatever they are, whatever your rotation is. You don't want to just wait or click or whatever. Spam them, and you'll see a lot more casts per minute. So if I look at casts again, where is it? What am I looking at? Let's give it a sec to load here. Yeah, it shows the uptime here, casting by spell. Where did I see cast per minute? Summary. Yeah, healing. Find analysis. Okay. Anyway, we're going to move on, but it shows, you know, actions per minute, casts per minute, all that kind of stuff. Your cast per minute may be slower because you're using slower heals. But as long as you're constantly doing something, that'll be a lot better. Am I muted? I'm not muted. No, I'm not muted. So moving on. Moving on to, what did I say here? Comparing DPS. So we compare DPS, comparing heals. Any other questions between comparing reports, comparing heals, that kind of stuff? Before I sort of look at casts, a little bit more breakdowns, uptimes as well. I can look at your dots. Let me know what questions you guys have for specifically pertaining to Warcraft logs here. We can look at, you know, interrupts, for example. If we look at a fight like Brackenspore, oh, only one of our guilds did it. What can I look at here? Twin Organs we can look at. That would be a better one. Did they kill it on Heroic? Maybe. Do I want the logs to compare? I can if you guys want me to. I can look at them really, really quick here. Because again, my guild is a higher item level than these dudes, so it may not be, you know, as realistic. I know they're available. Look, I know you have them here. One sec here. One sec. Stop sending me money. Stop distracting me. Can you send the money later on, guys? Just stop donating money. I'm trying to pull up these logs. Okay. Let's pull up these guys' logs. So, current... I'll look at donations in a sec, guys. So I'm just trying to pull up logs. Okay. So this guild is the other guy. They're a very similar setting. What? They're 645.1. So again, very similar to these guys. They have more people in Heroic. Why don't we compare these guys again? One more time here. Do you use live log to check who broke CCs and who messed up mechanic? Yeah, we do. In general, we do have live logging. In terms of breaking CCs, it's really, really relevant to trash. But in terms of encounters, yeah, we definitely want to look at who's doing what to what. Okay, Butcher. We're going to compare one more report really quick before we move on to the next section. So this is Glorious. This is Cunningus TJ, his guild. I'm going to copy over again this 16 character string, compare it to this one. So you guys can, you know, do this yourself. Okay, not Twin Ogres, I want to compare Butcher. So again, very similar kind of kills here. Both guilds killed it within, you know, 2 seconds of each other. Let's look at the breakdown between guilds. There. So the guild's name is Moronic Impression. Okay. Or Glorious or something. But again, it shows you a breakdown. Let's get their damage done. So in one they used what? This one they used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 healers. Here they only used 4. Remember, you only want to have typically 1 healer per 5 people in the raid. Again, they only had 21 people in theirs, or 19 people in theirs, which made sense. They had 28 in theirs, so they ran a lot more healing. But again, it shows you a good breakdown of how people are doing. I'm going to zoom in here for you guys again for the blind. You know, comparing their damage here. This mage is what? I mean, it's comparable. I mean, I think you guys are doing fine. In general, both guilds, you're doing fine. You know, at 647 item level Frost Mage, you know, doing this much DPS, 21,000. The 651 guys doing 22,000. I mean, they're doing fine. They're doing totally fine for heroic modes. Where you might have a bit of a, you know, an issue is the guys that are doing sub 20,000. But again, you look at their item level, you know, he's 640. It's a whole 10 item level difference. You know, he could be doing something completely different, this Wraithy dude. But again, it's based off procs, a little bit of RNG as well. How do you judge a tank being good on logs? So it depends on, okay, that gets a little bit more complicated. It depends on damage coming in, when they're using their cooldowns. Why don't we compare tanks here for a second? So let's look at damage taken between both guilds. So there's Ravna and Gonzo, and here they have, two different kind of tanks. Now you have to remember though, like the tanks are not identical. One tank will take certain kinds of damage, are really good, against physical or can dodge shit, whereas Death Knights are great against magical damage. Druids may be a lot more effective against physical stuff. It totally depends. Yeah, the great outbit is for pets. Yeah, the great outbit right here. That is that damage taken. Yeah, if I go back really quick here, the grayed out stuff. Why there's two colors? That is pet damage. Right here. So Mavasor, he did, 72% of the damage. And his pet, Kelthurlis, did 27% of the damage. That's why it's two different colors, for those of you wondering. Sorry, I should have explained that a little bit earlier. Same thing here. It tells you a bit of a breakdown as to, how much damage you did, which is totally fine here, right? Clearly the pets are not carrying their players. What else did I miss here? Ricky Gervais. Mythic. Okay, moving on. Moving on here. So damage taken is one little thing to look at. Why don't we look? I mean, they're not the same class, but we can sort of look at them, see how they're doing. Let's look at the. I mean, you just can't compare. They're apples and it's apples and oranges, apples bananas, apples and dildos, whatever. You can't compare the two. You can look at them and see how they're doing. You can look at debuffs, for example. Who's doing a good job avoiding debuffs? Now, what is the one debuff you don't want? Cleaver. Cleaver's here. Yeah, you guys got to be a bit of a different component here. Why don't we look at the Druid? The Druid what was the Druid's name here? Let me go back a second. The Druid's name is Vimic, or Vivimic, whatever. So I want to compare Vivimic to the other tanks here. Let's look at Ravna. Ravna's the other one. There, in terms of cleaver ticks, I mean, they really should be avoiding the cleaver ticks, dodge, cooldowns, whatever, to make sure they're not getting hit by stuff. Yeah, temporal displacement, but it does show you their debuffs, right? It shows you exactly how much damage you're taking when. I don't know what the situation was here, who was tanking first, or who was the main tank, off tank, whatever, how often they were switching with how many tanks. I always find it hard to set up logs, never seems to log anything. My Dargo, the earlier part of the stream, I talked about how to exactly set up logs. So you'll have to go back a little bit earlier, but it'll be highlighted for you. I mean, you can look at damage taken, you can look at buff up times, how often they're casting their active mitigation. So what, for a protection paladin is what? Shield of the Righteous. For the other tanks, I'm not sure what. Your shield block, your shield barriers for protection warriors, how often they're casting that kind of stuff. So if I compare, let's pull up the warrior here. The warrior Gonzo. So it shows you, how often defensive buffs. There we go. Yeah, Sacred Shield is being used again. That other paladin, Zudon or whatever his name was, he was casting, bless you, his Sacred Shield on the tank, which is a defensive buff. This is how often he was shield blocking, what cooldowns he was using. He used two pots here, which is great. He pre-potted on one. He used another pot close to the later end phase there. He should probably used it for the Berserker phase. I guess he did, never mind. He used it during the Berserker phase there. His last stand, shield walls, all that stuff. He's using his cooldowns. Either saving them for when it's appropriate or not. And this guy, again, he's using what cooldowns do. His Savage Defense, how often it's up here. He should be using it a little bit more probably for the cleavers, though, depending on what they're doing in terms of tanking. So again, it's things to compare, but it's comparing two different classes. Like I'm comparing a paladin healing to a druid healing. They're vastly different roles. I mean, they're the same sort. They're the same healer role, but completely different healers, completely different healing styles. So it's hard to compare. Compare, a paladin and a paladin. Look through different logs, and you can totally compare different logs as to how people are doing. And we'll look at that in a second here. Use Vermin's Bite again. Like I don't follow. I don't know what the hell. Oh, the agility potion. Shouldn't they be using armor potions? Maybe. As tanks, don't you guys use armor potions? I don't know. I don't follow tanks. I follow sort of my class setting. So maybe that's something he did wrong. I don't know. Like I'm not here to call someone out on
You're a paladin, you can be a tank.
Sorry.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it could be a tank. But it also shows whether somebody's using the right flasks, the wrong flasks, or whatever else. Where was it? What am I looking at here? There's a Cyclops, Pulverize. buffs here. Okay, so raid buff wise, using the well-fed. Did I find that flask here? Did somebody use the wrong flask? Is that what you guys are saying? Activating armor potion, which is good. I don't think I saw the flask here. Unless I'm completely blind. Anyway, it shows you, the uptime of the buffs, what they're using. Obviously at this setting, you don't want to be using the wrong ones. That's a mop potion? Oh, that's a Miss Pandaria potion is what you're saying. Yeah, no, you shouldn't be using Miss Pandaria potions. Well, there you go. Well, there you go. Now we know that whatever your name was, your tank in your guild is using the wrong kind of potions. That's no agility. That's so little. Use the other potions. They're a crap ton more, right? Okay, moving on to the next section here, which is we're going to look at uptimes. Now, depending on the type of class here, let's go back to Baleful for a second. I'm going to look at Mavisor's logs for a second. Mavisor, I'm going to go pick on you for a little bit here. Okay, why don't we look at we're going to look at Brackenspore. Brackenspore would be a good example. Okay, we're going to look at Mavisor. Look at damage uptime. So sometimes, your dots fade. Well, there's no reason your dots should be fading. Again, Shadow Priest, different story, I guess. Depending on the type of class you are, your dots should always be up, or sometimes they fall off depending on procs and shit like that. Let's look at damage done again for Brackenspore. So again, this is their damage done. Mavisor, you're a Destro Warlock. That's fine. Look at your breakdown here. Your breakdown is mostly Doom Bolts, Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Immolate, whatever, right? Your uptime on your Immolate is 94%, which isn't bad. That's not bad. It's not, godly, but it did fall down 5% of the time. So what we can look at debuffs, and let's check here. Or was I going to look at it? Let's look at damage done. Yeah, we're going to look at Immolate. If I click the Immolate here, this shows where the damage was ticking. Where did they have the actual thing here? Buffs, debuffs. Can you look at Fury Warrior logs? I can, but I don't know the breakdowns between how much you guys should be wild striking, how much you guys should be blade storming stuff. I don't know. You'd have to look at actual Fury logs, compare them for yourself. Find another Fury Warrior, and I'll show you how to find those logs in a second, guys, if you want to compare them to another Fury Warrior or whatever else. Resources, casts. Okay, here we go. So this is the cast of Immolate, uptime. There, these are the casts, how often he was casting his Immolates. When I looked at the breakdown, I can't remember where it was for a second, it showed that there was, their boss. One sec here. Yeah, you can get the link there, Mel. But it shows you the uptime exactly of Immolate and when he let it drop. So I'm trying to find it again. And damage being taken. Why don't we look at straight up Immolate on Brackenspore Flesh Eaters. Again, the damage breakdown. Let's see. Maybe this is what I wanted. There we go. So this is the uptime on Fungal Flesh Eaters. Immolate was up. So he's immolating, all three Fungal Flesh Eaters. How often it was up, how much damage it was doing to each Fungal Flesh Eater, and his breakdown. Yeah, I'll look at Bird. I'll have to look at them later on for Fury Warrior logs. Okay, so let's look at damage breakdown. So on Brackenspore, the ranged, your main focus should be on those Spore Shooters, because the melee are not going to go run off and go kill Spore Shooters for you. You should be killing them yourselves. So as ranged, that's where your advantage is. Let's look at damage breakdown. We'll go back here for a second. Damage breakdown. Turn off this cast. There we go. Damage done. Let's look at Mavisor again, and Shifty Luck would be a better example. That's fine. Let's see how much damage Mavisor did to Spore Shooters. Or why don't we look at who did the most damage to Spore Shooters? Because you can look at, damage taken, damage done to enemy, damage taken from source, enemies from... Okay, why don't we look at... Where are they? So I'm just playing around with this. Damage done. Where are you? Where are you, dirty little enemies? Look at so much damage Brackenspore did with his Investing Spores. I want to look at damage taken. You can see, I mean, there's so much to look at. There's so much to analyze. You know, who's doing how much damage to what, every little bit of it. Screw Impregnator, wait for 2 ups in Heroic. Oh, that's fine. Look at your low damage Hunter, because they are doing the same as mine. I was trying to manage the raid also. And again, Griff, you know, your performance will always suffer when you're raid leading, no matter what. Always, always suffering. Guys, I'm not going to be going through everybody's logs today, but I'm just going to be going for these ones in general. They give me the logs to look at. I can compare a different log every single week for you guys, but I don't have the entire night compare every single buddy's logs and tell you what you're doing right or wrong. It's up to you guys. I'm going to give you guys the tools to do it, and then you guys really analyze those logs. Like I tell you guys, you know, Warcraft or WoW Progress is the great tool to find guilds. This is how you use it. Go find yourself a guild. You know, go find it. You have the tools now. Go succeed. Okay, damage. Sorry, let me look at finding that. Let me look at finding damage breakdown. Okay, all sources. I'm looking at target by enemy. That's what I'm looking at. Thanks. Damage done. Friendlies. Change all enemies to Spore Shooter. That's what I was looking at. See, look how simple that was. It's very basic. I was going too complicated here. So I want to see who's doing damage to Spore Shooters. Perfect. Thanks, Zundir. Zundir, you know, knows these a little better than I do. So this is who was doing damage to Spore Shooters. Straight off the bat. Griff, Deathrill, fantastic job killing Spore Shooters. Don't you have like more ranged? What were you guys doing? Were you guys you know, using the flamethrower maybe? I don't know. But your hunters did a great job destroying the crap out of the Spore Shooters. You know, they're a high priority target. So are, you know, the other little ads as well as the fungal thing. Do I sign up for the day? You talk about people's characters. There's no kind of sign up. No. There's no sign up. It's just really, these guys give me logs. There are a bunch of subs and, you know, good guys, and they ask me to look through them. So there's no like sign up where I go through all of your logs all day long. I don't have the energy for that. Yeah, you were the two assigned to them, but honestly, why just you two? Remember, the quicker they die, you know, the quicker you can go back to DPSing the boss. Why is it, you know, only these guys assigned? Why isn't your this dude blowing the crap out of everything as well? You know, dotting up all the Spore Shooters. You know, your Shadow Priest, you're using them as well. Just blow the crap out of them, then it's less potential raid damage taken. If you're taking less raid damage, you can have, you know, less healers, depending on the type of fight that it is. Griff, typically you put all range on Spore Shooters because they do tons of damage, and you'll see that, you know, in the higher difficulties when you start doing, you know, Mythic, for example, it's a lot of damage taken from those Spore Shooters. You remember, you can also interrupt them. You can interrupt their Spore casts. So if Griff is on one Spore Shooter, the other guy Deathrill is on the other one, you're interrupting them where possible, or the other guys are interrupting them too. Your other Frost Mage did do some pretty solid damage to the Spore Shooters. We can look at other types of damage here. Who did the most Fungal Flesh Eaters in general? Well, Cleavers. I'm going to guess the Windwalker. Yeah. The Windwalker, the Fury Warrior, they did a shit ton of damage to the Fungal Flesh Eater. Again, that is a high priority target because you want it to die before the next one comes out. It is a 2-minute phase where, I mean, they come out every 1 minute 20 seconds. As you can see here, how often the Fungal Flesh Eaters are up. You know, this section. These little peaks, these mountains, is when the Flesh Eater's taking damage. Sorry, I need to go back here for a second. There. That's when they're actually taking damage. So you should be switching them really quick, burning them down so the tank takes less damage, you know, make it a lot easier on your healers. Okay, good question here. To be able to see this kind of chart, you need everyone to have the software, or the computer, can one person have it? Just one person. One person logs the fight, uploads it to this website. At the start of the stream, Mario Rock Bro 2, I showed everybody how to log yourselves and then upload it for yourselves, and your entire guild can have it. So who used it? Mavisor. So Mavisor from this guild was the one person that logged. Another different example here, in my guild we have multiple people logging. So you can use both. It's totally fine. But then anybody with the actual link can access this parse and play around with it and see what they're doing right or wrong or whatever. But it does give you a breakdown of who's doing what. If things aren't dying quick enough, so if the Fungal Flesh Eater, let's say in Mythic, is not dying quick enough, well, maybe somebody's not attacking it. And you can see through the logs who's attacking it and who's not. Shifty Luck, you know, is doing a little bit of damage. You can see his breakdown as well, how much damage he's doing. He's doing what? Okay, that's interesting. So he did a lot of damage to the first Fungal Flesh Eater, not a lot to the second and third ones, which is a little bit strange. This guy, I mean, he did pretty solid damage to the second, third, and first one. The fourth one obviously spawned, and he just died. So this is where the boss died, right around here. The boss died here, so there's not a lot of damage to this fungal flesh eater, which is fine. So again, the Windwalker destroyed them. You know, it was pretty good damage here. Again, the melee here are doing pretty solid damage to the first three fungals. The fourth one's not applicable in this case. Yeah, same thing here. Same thing. So my question would be, you know, why is your Boomkin not attacking the second and third fungal flesh eaters? Is he doing flamethrower? I don't know. I mean, I can check here whether he has the flamethrower buff, but maybe that's something to look at. You know, he's not damaging the fungal flesh eater, which means you're taking more stacks of the debuff, and then you die, and then you wipe. Congrats. Yeah, it's a great concept. Hello, Azradeath. Okay. So moving on. What else do you guys want to see here from these encounters in terms of damage done, breakdowns? Again, Mind Fungus, who's killing them? Let's see here. There, Death Roll is destroying the crap out of Mind Fungus. Griff, why aren't you? Probably because you're raid leading, right? But you see them die pretty quickly. They don't have a lot of HP, and killing them really quickly does help out your raid in general. Like do more DPS because they're not being cast time slowed. Does your range from other people... Good question here, Elodise. Does your range from other people affect your logs recording them? It's really difficult to outrange somebody. You can have multiple parsers or whatever, but it's difficult to outrange the actual combat logs. I'm pretty sure most encounters right now, you will not outrange anything. The actual arenas that you are fighting in are small enough that you can't outrange it. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, I can't think of a single instance in the last few expansion tiers that you would outrange all of your stuff. Oh, well, you know what, though? Here's an example. Shah of Pride. You guys remember doing Shah of Pride last tier? If you were going into the Shah phase, you know, you would not see the right kind of damage. You would look a little bit different, because if you're the person going into the realm, well, your damage will always be highest, or your damage on scout or whatever will always be, Norishan phase, thank you. That's what I meant, not Shah of Pride. The Norishan phase, or the Shah of Pride Banish, yeah, thank you, Zendir. That's when damage would show a little bit differently. That's really one of the only exceptions. That's where it would show, you know, hey, I'm doing the most damage. If somebody gets teleported into the Norishan room, you don't see the damage they're doing. So their damage would show up as a little bit lower compared to everybody else. But again, that wasn't a great indicator of damage too. Sparty, is the live logging session working? I did it whole raid, nothing was saved on World of Logs. Then upload it yourself, Invoke. Make sure combat log is there. Go again to your combat log, right here, right, your WoW combat log. Make sure it's got, you know, decent size when it was last updated, and then do that. Don't click it because it's going to probably crash your computer or whatever. So yeah, that's where your logs are stored, guys. They fixed it now? Well, that's good. Yeah, Warcraft logs is much better. But old World of Logs, you guys remember, things would not be tracked. Cool. We need to refresh it? I don't know. Shaman's outrange logs as well if you split them. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. You might be able to outrange logs there, maybe. You shouldn't have to, though. Okay, so moving on to the next section here for logs, we're going to look at fight analysis. Now, this is a relatively new tool to... actually, you know what? Let's not do fight analysis. Fight analysis will do next. Replay function. Okay, we're going to do replay. So we're going to look at this guild again. We're going to look at the awesome replay function. Hopefully it's working with this guild. Now, what this does, and you must have advanced combat logging enabled for this one. Okay, watch this. So, if you guys go under your... System... and then go to network. When you guys are combat logging, I should have mentioned this earlier, make sure that advanced combat logging is enabled. This is very important. This checkbox needs to be enabled. Do it. It's a little bit more, you know, more lag, whatever, a larger text file, but make sure advanced combat logging is enabled, because it'll give you a couple really cool features with Warcraft logs. So if I go to Warcraft logs here, this is actually going to show me their positioning, what they were doing every encounter here. So here, I don't even need to know what's going on. I can tell you what's going on. This is the raid populated right here. This is where it's a bit of a 2D version of what's going on. Here's Brackenspore right here. This right here is Ravna, their other tank. This is Griff, their raid leader. You know, he's in there in the chat. Everybody stacks on Griff. Here's what's happening. There's a bull running. Okay, this is actually... This I don't like. I'll tell you what. This, I'm guessing Voxy is an enhancement shaman running over to kill Mind Fungus. just have your casters go over to it. Why are you losing? You're losing so much damage from your melee running off to go kill Mind Fungus. Have your casters do it. You know, the other hunter was doing a great job killing Mind Fungus. Here they are moving to the next shroom. The shroom was where? Where is it? Here's the living mushroom. They're getting a little bit closer, and now they're going to blow up this living mushroom and heal right through it through the necrotic spore phase. You can also see their HP here. It will drop very soon. So waiting on, yeah, it is. Necrotic spores, infested spores, doing a lot of damage. They blew a lot of cooldowns, kept the mushroom alive, and you see their HP dropping right now. So I knew that was an infested spore phase. Don't whistle if you're close. Yeah, so you do it as range, that's why. No, it does not. Okay, yeah. So the Mind Fungus, guys, how it works, in beta it worked differently. In beta, if you cast on the Mind Fungus, it would slow you, as well as you being close to them. Now, be at range, kill them from range, your casts don't get slowed. Okay, it worked a little bit differently in beta. They changed it, they fixed it. Melee shouldn't need to run over there and get them. But I mean, you can also avoid the fungus itself by running away from it. But this shows you exactly what they're doing here. So, you know, you see the big ad spawning. Here's Bracken Spore. There's Ravna the tank, and they're getting little mushrooms spawning. You see the Spore Shooter spawn. Let's go. Okay, we'll see another Spore Shooter spawn. If only this had boss timers, that'd be perfect. Okay, you're taking a lot of damage. Again, that looked like it was a mist interrupt right there. That straight up damage tells me it was a mist interrupt. There's a Rejuve Mushroom, perfect, so they got their mana back. There's a Mind Fungus in the raid right now, slowing their cast speed. That's when you may want to turn around as a melee and kill it. Now here they got a Living Mushroom. You'll see them run over to the Living Mushroom right now. Again, I haven't looked at this log prior to, but I know what they're doing. So they run over to it, the tank positions. Yeah, that's not bad. There's a Spore Shooter up right now. Oh my god, why? Did that rogue just run over to the Spore Shooter? Corblimey, why? Why do you like doing less damage? Don't you want to do more damage, Corblimey? Oh dear. Okay, looks like, yeah. So Steelix here is one of their flamethrower dudes, and what was this guy? Okay, that's cool. Okay, never mind. He's a flamethrower dude. Okay, that's fine. Here they're pulling up the second fungal flesh eater. They're pulling it to the tank, and again, they're dealing with the necrotic infested spore phase. So the damage is going to, you know, their health is going to drop lower and lower and lower. But again, this is a great tool to see where people are standing, see what other guilds are doing, where they're standing or sending certain people. It shows you very, very easily what guilds are doing in terms of positioning. So it is a really cool tool, and you can do this on multiple encounters. I can do this on Twin Ogrins, for example. Even on webs, it doesn't have to be a kill. It is a really amazing feature, guys, and it's great with Warcraft logs. And yeah, that's part of the reason why some Mythic logs are private, but really, they're like Mythic logs. Unless you're in a top 5 world guild, you have no fucking business, you know, making your logs private. Whatever. Like, really, get off your high horse. Okay, so moving on. So again, Twin Ogrins, same kind of thing here. You know, they stack, they spread. You know, you want to see who didn't get the debuff. Well, you can look at their debuffs here. We'll look at Find Analysis in a second here. But this, again, shows you the positioning, what strat they use, the door strat or whatever, closer to the middle. Where they're stacked. I mean, people should be pretty close to being stacked, as well as the bosses. Both Svimos and Pol should be stacked together. There's Gonzo, there's Ravna, the other tank, there's Pol, and there's Phimos. Yeah, they're being brought in right now. Sort of everyone's like all over the place, don't know what's going on. This is during the fire phase, of course, so you see people getting hit by fire, which is bad. Don't stand in fire, you bunch of damn jackalopes. Don't stand in fire. Like, everyone's going all over the place right now. It doesn't show you all the abilities. And yeah, the fire fierce deposition is coming. So this right here, you guys saw that little buff? The further the guys are apart, the more of an attack speed they gain. So you want to keep them close together whenever possible, except for during the whirlwind. Anyway, this is a really cool tool. Play around with it. Look at the replay function. It is right here, the replay function on Warcraft logs. But again, you must have advanced combat logging enabled in order to see it. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to one really cool feature of Warcraft logs, which is the fight analysis portion. I got a couple more portions of Warcraft logs here to mention, but this is the this can be the fight analysis portion. So let's go to what logs do I want to look at here. Let's look at Baleful again. Okay, Kargath is a great example, so let's look at Kargath. We'll look at Kargath and Imperator, because a lot of you guys, have issues with mines, right? So where's Kargath? Kargath, Heroic, perfect. So I'm going to look at Kargath right now. Close this one down. Kargath kill, perfect. So your 21 men kill here, Baleful, we're going to look at that one. Now, under the summary tab, the main tab here, if you guys go down to the fight analysis portion, this tab is amazing. You guys thought that replay function was cool? Check this out. This tells you what your guild is doing wrong. You don't even need to analyze shit. In the past, analyzing logs was tedious and friggin' annoying. But now this thing is here. Like, it tells you exactly what you did wrong. Like, it tells you what the abilities do, what suggested, corrections are. This fight analysis will solve a lot of your issues. This is amazing. Straight off the bat, let's see who used potions, who didn't. The good guys, they used 2 potions. Astrocamp, perfect. Deathrill, Ravna, Steelix, whatever. Griff, raid leader, only used 1 potion. Oh, that's Griff. Oh, come on, Griff. Lead by example. So the 2 ones are obviously pre-pots, hopefully, and then, a pot afterwards, unless they died, which they could use a pot later on as well. So this shows you potion use right here, straight off the bat. Slow deaths. Okay, slow deaths are bad. I mean, slow deaths, you stood in shit for too long or you didn't get heals, but there's reasons why you took a slow death. The following people died slowly over 5 or more seconds. Lack of sufficient direct healing or excessive damage is usually the reason of these deaths. Berserker Rush. So their mage died to Berserker Rush. It sort of shows you exactly how he died. There's the ability again. Damage breakdowns. I mean, yeah, you got hit by Berserker Rush. I don't know why. We'll have to look at it in a second here. Now, here's another thing. When Kargath casts Berserker Rush, he will chase a random player until the player kites him into a fire. So you guys know how to deal with the Berserker Rush, right? These people, so these dudes, received hits from the Berserker Rush. It didn't kill them, but they received hits from it. These dudes on the right side, right here, these guys died from the Berserker Rush. Okay, that is bad. No, that is bad. So these, what are these? These timers of each Berserker Rush? Looks like it. Potentially. These are some of the Berserker Rushes. What's it? Rush colored green indicate the Berserker Rush ended with the victim dying. Rush colors red indicate the victim died. Oh. So this is exactly it. So here they've got a Berserker Rush. Whatever. They got hit. This guy died to it. Your druid that was healing the wrong spells. This guy kited it wrong. Again, that's why he died. These guys kited correctly. At these portions, they kited correctly. The Berserker Rush, that's who it was on. These guys should not have died. Tell them to stop getting in Berserker Rush's way. That's it. Straight up. But it tells you exactly who did wrong. In Iron Bombers here, it says passed. You guys have nothing really to worry about, because Iron Bombers tells you exactly what the abilities do. So, thank you, Tally, for the host. So we're talking about Warcraft logs. For those of you joining us from Tally's Sub Sunday, where I think he was playing Sparta the Guild Leader kind of game. I showed you guys last night. We're talking about Warcraft logs here. We're looking at a really cool thing called Fight Analysis in the Warcraft logs portion. This shows you exactly what you're doing wrong. Again, we're analyzing another guild's logs. This is Baleful on Sargeras. You see, we're looking at Berserker Rush. These guys died to, Berserker Rush. These guys used only 2 potions. These guys used only, 1 potion. Gonzo used no potions, for example. Here, Fire Bombers. So Iron Bombers, they did a good job in general with Iron Bombers. It tells you exactly 2 types of bombs. Iron Bombers hurl 2 types of bombs. Fire Bombs, which, blow up, and Iron Bombs. Fire Bombs are used on the team in the stands, so when you get teleported or use the chain hurl, hurls you up into the stands, the Fire Bombs are avoidable. Completely avoidable, watch where you're standing. It can be avoided, as it says here. The Iron Bombs target a player and leave a dot on them. So if you guys are tracking the Iron Bombs on your raid frame, so in my Voodoo, for example, in my Voodoo, when I go to debuffs, I'm tracking the actual Iron Bomb. Where is it? There. Tracking the actual Iron Bomb debuffs. So I know who's taking damage, who I need to heal with Eternal Flame, for example. So that's not avoidable, that's just straight up damage. This is who got hit with, Iron Bomb hits. That's sort of random who's getting hit. Not fully random, but it is somewhat random in terms of who gets it. Firebomb hits received. Voxy, your Enhancement Shaman, got hit with 8. Griff with 5. Gonzo 4. Again, it is completely avoidable. Stop getting hit. Right? Stop getting hit. Deaths from explosion. So Voxy died, Gonzo died, and Ravna died from the explosion hits. Should not have gotten hit by those. So you have to res them, and it sucks. And, you wasted your C-res on these dudes. Okay, with Fire Pillars, again, it says you guys did a good job. So Fire Pillars strike any players doing that are standard in the Flame Pillar. You know, they come up, the big skull thing, there's big fire around them. This is who stood in them. Just straight up stood in fire. So Astrocamp, your decent rep paladin, he stood in 7 ticks of fire. Stop standing in fire. Ravna 3, Deathrill, Combat Gonzo, Mavasor, Shazmatic, and Voxy, they all took 1 tick. You know, if you take too much damage, it'll say, you know, you failed this mechanic, you need to have, you know, at least or a minimum this amount of ticks. Voxy died 3 times, so we'll look at deaths here in a second. The Turkey Foot. Okay, so moving on. To the Impale here, the Impale, nobody died to the Impale. I mean, it's a very easy ability to avoid. It's awesome. I mean, you guys did a great job with dealing with the Impale there. Tanks use their active negation, healers heal right through them. Okay, into the crowd. This shows you straight up who he cast Chain Hurl on. So if you had a certain, you know, group of people, so you have the tank, you have your hunter, you have your boomkin, you've got your healer, and you've got your DPSer, right? This is how many things you killed per wave. So if you know you only killed, you know, a certain amount of things in the first wave, well, I mean, more spawn in second and third ones, but it tells you who did a good job, who did not. I can sort of view the logs here of who did the most damage to what, okay, during that phase, during that little section. So if you can click on that and click view, view damage done. So in the first one, Griff, Shifty Luck, Ravna, Cyclone, Tard, and Voxy. You know, Griff is the hunter, Shifty Luck's DPS, Ravna's a tank, Cyclone's a healer, and Voxy again is the DPS. That's who went up. Next one, it was the same people, new tank. Well, a different healer as well. 4 went up. And then it was the same people as the first group, and they killed 36. So it was not bad. Now, Drunken Ballslingers, for that specific encounter, those are the dudes that throw the big green shit on the ground. That's avoidable, right? When you guys get hurled up to the stands there, you guys kill the Drunken Ballslingers first because they're the most dangerous target. By throwing shit on the ground, it's less potential movement space, and what you want to do is kill them really quickly. So again, this shows you how many stacks were up. You know, multiple. Yeah, there's 3 Ballslingers up right at this point. 2, 4, whatever. So you guys killed them during this second chain hurl, and the third one as well. There was 1 and then 2 up, and you killed it. So you guys did a good job killing the Ballslingers. Now, Mauling Brew. Mauling Brew is the actual green crap on the floor. That is again avoidable. These guys took Gonzo, Mavasor, Ravna, and Voxy took 1 tick of it. I mean, it's not terrible, but you did take 1 tick, which again is avoidable. That's one thing to improve on. So when you guys are looking at these logs, it is something to improve on. What can I do better? I know I didn't do perfectly on this. I need to try harder, you know, dodging this ability, or damaging these things harder, or stop getting run over by his Berserker Rush. And I don't mean to insult, you know, the guild. Obviously, they're a pretty decent guild, because I've trained them myself through my subruns. But, you know, there's ways to improve here. Now, the last thing here, this is, you know, pretty important as well in terms of straight-up damage. Blade Dance. Blade Dance is the ability when he sort of just blinks out and goes damages somebody else. Blade Dance should only target a few people. If people are stacked too close together, they get too many ticks of Blade Dance. Excuse me. Now, Blade Dance is random in terms of who it actually goes to, but it'll go to range, obviously. If range are stacked too close together, you know, within 4 yards, they get too many hits. So Blade Dance, it says here, your guild had issues. Your guild had issues with Blade Dance. And it shows you exactly how. When Kargath casts Blade Dance, you know, there you go. He will rush random targets every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Everyone within 7 yards of the target will also be hit. The ideal number of people hit by a single Blade Dance is 5. At most 5. It should be a lot less. The average number of people hit by a Blade Dance was 8.6, which is a little bit higher than average. Right? You know, slightly higher. These are the guys that did get hit, so this is fine. The first 3 here, you know, this Blade Dance right here, this was totally fine. 3 people got hit. Good job there. As you get further into the fight here, let's see, 1 minute in, Cyclone, Tard, Chasmatic, Zulin, Kier, Mavasor, whatever, they got hit. They were all standing too close to each other. Straight up. Here, a couple people, and later on, you know, you guys did a decent job. 3, 4 people getting hit. But in general, try to have less people get hit by the Blade Dance, because again, it is avoidable. You can compare logs, right? We can go do the same thing and compare it to my guild's logs. If I go to Death Jesters and compare to our heroic, Blade Fist, that was mythic. Where's my heroic kill? Yeah, 30-man heroic kill. So again, if I look at fight analysis, this shows you how my guild did. These guys are all people using potions. Sparty didn't use any potions there because apparently they run out of mana. People died to Berserker Rush because we had issues playing around testing stuff. But again, Iron Bombers, Fire Pillars, people got hit. Towley! As he starts hosting me, Towley stood in 4 ticks of Fire Pillars. But so did a bunch of other people. So again, it is things to improve on. Impale, Tanks did a great job with Into the Crowd, who got tossed up each time. We only got 2 toss-ups. Yeah, I think we messed up here because Mayuki got tossed up instead of Treelightful. But then I told the group, just jump back down, and we're going to ignore that next one. Because I don't want my group dying. Blade Dance, again, how many targets? Now, here's one thing they did better. But again, take this into consideration. So they had 21 people in their Kargath kill. I had 30 people in my Kargath kill. What does that mean? More range, less room to spread. So they did a better job than my guild, Death Jesters, with Blade Dance and spreading out. If I look at my log here, look at all the people that are getting hit. Sparty, Cherish getting hit by like every single one of them. Valak, Aloria, Brand, Sparty with 8 ticks. Again, if you have more range in your group, it's going to be less room to spread overall during the entire arena section. I think Tally was respawning pillars. Well, there you go. That's exactly it. There's always context. I know, guys. I know. Thanks to Hey, that's guys. I'm trying to make a point here. So yes, Tally stood there in the fires, but I told him go disable the pillars. So he actually went through the fire to disable it on purpose, right? That's why he took more damage. You can't just say like Tally stood in fire, he's bad. No, he was told to go disable pillars. What is the quickest way to go disable pillars? Just run right through the damn fire, disable it. Or you could sort of inch your way around here, sidestep to avoid the fire. But it's fine. Like, it's not a lot of damage. We have plenty of healers, especially on heroic mode. Like, it's a joke for us because we overgear it. Or we just, we gear it correctly. So it does give you, some indicator of how the guild's doing. Sparty, the only thing that anyone should use Warcraft logs for is that pretty button near the top that says rankings. Bullshit. No. Fight analysis is really one of the most important parts of Warcraft logs. Review rankings, you know what? Rankings generally mean jack shit. Sure, I mean, it means gear, it means you're doing a decent job. It could mean you're cheesing encounters, it could mean a lot of things. Don't take a lot of thought into rankings themselves. Stab to us. I respectfully disagree with you. Respectfully disagree. Rankings, no. I mean, what about gear? How do you rank somebody that's 650 because, they're not getting gear, or they have, they're running personal loot, compared to somebody that is 670 that's getting all the loot? Who's getting the higher ranking on that same fight?